Fellow Scots, our independence movement recognises that in the history of our ancient nation, there have lived giants whose names are proudly etched in our books and in our hearts. And this week, we remembered with some mirth and with some tears one such hero, Ian Hamilton. He who helped to recover our sacred stone of destiny on Christmas Day 1950. Never underestimate the courage and the guile that those actions required. To break into Westminster Abbey, repatriate the stone and keep it safe. Rarely, since the days of Sir William Wallace, has a band of Scotsmen managed to outwit, albeit temporarily, the might of the British establishment so comprehensively under the world's fascinated gaze. And my friends, the world's fascinated gaze is now upon Scotland as we begin once more to face down the might of the British establishment. Ian Hamilton and his accomplices, Kay Matheson, Gavin Vernon and Alan Stewart, their aim was to persuade the people of Scotland to believe in the existence of a Scottish identity. And the symbolism of their escapade proves, because we still speak of them today, that they succeeded. But in 1950, the NHS in Scotland was just 18 months old. Thousands lived in homes with no plumbing and outside toilets. Rickets, TB and polio were rife. And though some folk got a black and white telly in time for the coronation a couple of years later, there was rationing in place until 1954. Homes were heated by coal fire, and folk like my dad had to leave school at the age of 14. But time marched on, and the teddy boys of the 50s were replaced by the beatniks of the 60s. Winnie Ewing and her demands to stop the world, we want to get on. And the discovery of Scotland oil gave us hope. But there was no oil fund for us. No Stavanger and no Stetsons, just a constant jibes. You're too wee, you're too poor, and you're too stupid. But courageous souls, Donald Stewart, Gordon Wilson, Billy Wolfe, Wendy Wood, Willie McRae, Maggie Ewing, and Margot MacDonald. Every one of those giants ensured that our movement continued to build momentum, educate and persuade of the benefits of independence and the restoration to this nation of full economic powers. The powers that we require to realise the potential of the people of this country. The ability to ensure that our people will be warm, fed, healthy, educated and thriving, not cold, hungry, weak, ignorant or failing. And so we fought for our Scottish Parliament despite the gerrymandered referendum in 1979 and the 40% rule. We survived Thatcher. We survived her privations and privatisations. We survived, thanks to Tommy and others, the poll tax. But in the meantime, our industrial heartlands became ravaged wastelands. But we did not give up and we did not give in. I stood wiping tears from my eyes when I heard Jim Sillars say in the early 1990s what the purpose of Scottish independence was. It was this: to wipe every unnecessary tear from every Scottish cheek. And that is what it remains. And so, 1999 brought the devolution that was going to kill independence stone dead. However, SNP victories achieved by Alex Salmond, Nicola Sturgeon, John Swinney, Kenny McCaskill and countless others brought us a chance of freedom in 2014. I stood in this square again on Yesmas Eve, the 17th of September 2014, and I listened to Tommy and he said, well, Scotland might only have 10 years of oil left, but the UK's got 10 hours. And had we mobilised every supporter at that point, would have been a free country. We could have had then our own national energy company, our own currency, and the confidence of knowing we were in control of our own destiny, no longer subsidising the rump of the UK. But despite 2014, we still never gave up. And we will never give up. We will not admit defeat. And we know, beyond any shadow of a doubt, that support for our cause is on the rise. And that is why they seek to ridicule us and they seek to divide us at every turn. But not only are we still standing, we are gazing upon a different Scotland than the Scotland of 2014. This is a changed world. We are looking at a political landscape which is barely recognisable. And the new case for independence is not the same as the old. We are the lucky ones because we made it through the pandemic. And we are here now to fight another day, for this independence campaign, my friends, is a fight for the very soul of Scotland, for our souls and for our lives. Because think about Ian Hamilton's 1950. Rickets and TB and polio have returned to Scotland in 2022. Brexit, which Scotland rejected 2-1, renders our supermarket shelves bare, our economy fractured, inflation in double figures, and grave shortages of skills across the board because we're not in control of our own immigration policy. We're praying for the return of the open fire because in this energy-rich country, soon 70% of our people will be living in fuel poverty. And we will have, allegedly, daily power cuts of 3 hours at a time. Well, Tory spivs and profiteers stole our past. They will not steal our future. I stood in this square a year ago and I spoke about Scotland's history, our heroes, world-renowned, Jimmy Reid, Matt McGinn, their views of our need for education, employment, self-respect and community. Well, by God, Scotland needs their fortitude now, more than ever. And 6 weeks ago, I listened in this square to heartbreaking life stories of people in recovery, experiences of those who had lost their dearest to addiction. And I learned then that when you're skint and you're down in Scotland in 2022, the cheapest, quickest way to get a heat is a handful of street Valium at 20 pence a pop. We still don't even claim the legal right to have safe consumption rooms. 40% of the children of this city live in poverty, and there are thousands of single working poor working in themselves into an early grave. How the hell is it that a single adult in Scotland can be skint at the end of the week after a hard week's graft and not have the money to eat, let alone heat or have a little leisure? Why are there homeless in Scotland at all? Why are there people being fed outside in the city under the Hielanmen's umbrella. Why indeed? And life expectancy in Scotland has reduced over the last 2 years. When I said, I mean it's a fight for our lives, I mean it's a fight for our lives. The price of the union is early, premature death. Death from addictions and suicide and homelessness. And we know now that in Tory austerity, 20,000 Scots perished. For austerity, read, state-enforced starvation, privation and hardship, state-imposed slow, tortuous death. Such unnecessary grind and want in a land of plenty, where now with a Robin Hood budget, stealing for the poor to give to the rich. And so I say to you, my friends, let's remember Ian Hamilton's view. His determination that we recognise our Scottish identity. Let us strive to use every power and sinew at our disposal to shape our future and create a new destiny, a Scotland which is strong, powered by our movement, united in a determination to restore the freedom of this country. A country populated by citizens, not subjects, where equality and well-being matter more than privilege or an old school tie. And these current days are hard, and this winter will be a killer for some. But the darkest hours are just before dawn. We will have a new Scottish dawn. And so, my friends, I say, if you cannot fly, you must run. If you cannot run, then walk. If you cannot walk, crawl. But by God, keep going forwards. Forwards to our nation's independence, prosperity for all. It is within our grasp, provided that we are not diverted or divided. We must not fail. It is our turn, like Ian Hamilton did, to create history, to build the Scotland we know we deserve. May we rise to that challenge every day, and may we become the giants who will deliver Scottish independence. 3 and 23.